This is how you're going to understand everything and then remember it in English. Understand everything and anything in English, remember it, and speak it. Hello, everybody. How are you all? Hope you're doing great. So, welcome back to another session of learning English and improving your English with me. Today's session is going to be extremely important for everybody because I'm going to tell you something that is important for your English learning. How to understand and remember everything in English. You might be reading a lot of things, listening to a lot of material in English, but how to understand it. If you're listening to something that is at your level, at the level of your comfort, that means you're not interacting with new words, which means you are not improving the level of your English. In order to do that, you have to read difficult articles, stories, novels, whatever you are taking up to read or to listen. You have to take something where you are getting some challenging words, phrases, something that you're not familiar with, so that you can improve your English. But constantly looking at the dictionary is a very big task. So how to understand everything naturally in English and then also remember it so that you can use it later on? I am going to tell you everything in this video. Are you all ready for it? I'm Ariel, your certified English language tutor, certified by the University of Cambridge, the UK. And before beginning, please subscribe to the channel so that you can get all the lessons that I post for you on this channel. Please like the video and share it with your friends too. Now, coming back to today's video, how to understand everything and remember it. How to understand everything in English. Now, understanding means you are consuming some kind of English language. Consuming that means input. There is English input. You are either reading or listening to English, or you might be watching some content in English. Again, if you're switching on the subtitles, that means you're engaging two different senses. You are reading the subtitles and listening to the content at the same time. But at the core of everything, you are engaged in two tasks, two skills of the English language. That's reading and listening. That is how you consume content in English and improve your English level with your speaking fluency. That is the most natural way of improving English. I've discussed it a lot with you. You know that. Now, when you are consuming the content, how do you understand and remember it forever? Because you might read it, you might know the meaning, and then you forget it. You're not able to use it afterward whenever you're speaking or writing something. And what is the purpose of learning English? What is the purpose of listening to and reading so much content in English? So that you can improve while speaking English in a real-life situation or while writing something that you're required to write. That means to be able to produce the language. You're consuming it, but the problem is a lot of times you're not able to understand half of the things. And whatever you're able to understand, you are not able to use it because you forget it. I'm going to tell you how to do that. Understand each and everything that you are reading or listening to, and then remember it so that you can use it. Using it means speaking it. It is very important. Let's begin with the complete plan that I have for you. Complete plan. Let's begin. Okay? When we talk about understanding something, let's take the example of reading first. And then I'll come to listening too, because both of these things are important. Now, when I'm talking about reading something, because that's important, you have to read something in English in order to consume language, in order to understand a language. What you're supposed to do is read and listen, right? So whenever you're reading a language or listening to it, you have to pay attention to the context. I always tell you that a language is used in context. Context is very important. Now, context is something that is important for any language in this world. That is, the language in usage. How the language is used is context. Everything that is surrounded by the usage of a particular word or phrase is context. It can be the situation you're using it. It can be how you're forming a sentence with it, what kind of meaning you're using, because a word can differ in meaning. That is the context. You have to understand the context, and if you understand the context, that is the most natural way to acquire a language, and when you acquire the language naturally, you are going to use it because now you are not trying to remember things. You're not trying to cram up things. You're not doing rote learning. You're not trying to, speak sentences after reading them, and then not able to understand what is going on. You're not doing this. What you're doing is you're trying to understand the language in the most natural way possible, just like a child would if he or she is learning his or her native language. You are replicating that kind of situation for yourself, and this is the best possible situation. Now, what you are supposed to do, how to understand the context, how to understand it. For this, there is a very simple thing. There are some steps that I'm going to tell you now. If you take up those steps, you'll be able to understand the context, understand everything, and also remember it so that you can use it later on. Let's begin with it. Step number 1. Step number 1 is to look for some context clues. You have to look for some context clues. Now, what are context clues? See, context clues are basically all the things that surround a particular word. For example, the sentence that you are using, the sentence before that particular sentence, or the sentence after that particular sentence. Now, if you're watching something in English, let's come to listening and watching. If you're watching something in English, understanding context becomes very easy because everything is visualized for you. When you're reading, you have to use your imagination. When you're listening, you have to use your imagination. But when you are watching something, you have the people acting out things for you. You can see the setting, you can see the people, you can see the context. Context is visualized, but that is half of the context. Half of the context is in the way that particular word is used in a sentence. Because you get half of the context visualized, it's very easy for you to understand the context. At times when you're reading something, it's very important for you to understand the context through the context clues rather than directly jumping to a dictionary. When you directly jump to a dictionary, what happens is your brain gets instant gratification. What is instant gratification? You must have heard about this word. That is when you do something, that is easy for you, that is pleasing for your mind, and then the effect remains for just a temporary period of time. That is instant gratification. What happens is you get a confidence. Okay, this is the word, this is the meaning. I've looked at the word's meaning. Now I'll be able to read everything comfortably, or maybe listen to that particular podcast comfortably. This is not the case. At that very moment, you might understand the meaning of the word, but after that, you will forget it. You will not be able to remember it. The biggest problem everyone faces is that we are not able to remember anything that we learn in English. After some time, we forget. The words are not coming to our mind. We have learned so many words. When we read them, we are able to recognize the words that we have learned, but using them is a big problem. And this is why the problem occurs, because you're trying to instantly look up the meaning without any effort from your side. Your brain gets the meaning of the word in an isolated manner. That means the word is isolated. It's separate from the complete sentence. You look at the meaning separately, not within the context, and this is creating a huge problem for you. So, you have to look at the meaning of the word in context, rather than separating the meaning from the context. Do not do that. Do not isolate the word, isolate the phrase. Keep everything within the context, and for that, look for some context clues. Now, how to do it? How are you going to look for those context clues? It's very important. Let me give you an example through this short paragraph, as you can see on the screen. She was feeling euphoric on the prospect of getting selected for the school's literary club. She was feeling euphoric. Now, this is a new word, euphoric. On the prospect, again, a new word, prospect of getting selected for the school's literary club. She was feeling euphoric. There is a particular word before euphoric that is feeling. Now, through this, we know it's an emotion. Euphoric is an emotion, right? This is a feeling. She is experiencing some kind of emotion. Why is she experiencing it? Ahead in the line, let's read it. On the prospect of getting selected for the school's literary club. Now she's getting selected somewhere in a club. That's something prestigious. So that means the feeling is positive. It's happiness. It's excitement. If you are getting selected somewhere, you'll feel that happy, over the moon, on top of the world, in seventh heaven, won't you? You will. You definitely will. And that is the same feeling for her. Euphoric is that happy feeling. Euphoric is that over-the-moon feeling for her. Now, the next word, prospect. But we are not able to find any kind of related meaning. Prospect of getting selected. Okay, so is she selected right now or she's not selected right now? That's a big question. Let's read the next line to understand. Now the next line will serve as a context clue here. She still has to go through the final stage of screening. She still has to go through the final stage of screening. Now, screening is another word. She has to go through the final stage. That means prospect. The meaning of prospect is she is not yet selected, but she has a lot of chance and possibility of getting selected. So prospect means something that can happen in a very positive manner, a possibility of something, a chance of something that is going to happen. So, prospect of getting selected, something where the possibility is quite high. So, that is prospect, right? Now, screening. Screening can be an audition. We are able to understand from this because she's getting selected somewhere. That means the last stage of screening. Screening means a form of audition or maybe some form of exam or kind of something that she has to give, a test that she has to give. Screening, where people are going to get selected, and some people will not get the opportunity to do it further. Right? So, selecting process. Now, through this, you know how to understand any word through context clues. We have discovered the meaning of 3 words through what? Through context clues. 3 new words through just the context. What surrounds the word, the sentence, the words, the meaning. What can be the meaning? Now, what we are doing here is we are kind of guessing the meaning, but we are able to understand the core meaning of everything. We are able to understand the message here. If you want to really look at the meaning, that's also important. To know how accurate you are in understanding the word, in understanding the context. For that, we have further steps. Now, these further steps are going to solidify everything and make you remember. This was the stage of understanding how to understand anything and everything in English. So if you look at the context clues, you will be able to understand anything in English, anything that you're reading, anything that you're listening to. The same steps have to be followed while you're listening to something. Listen to it once again, repeatedly. If you're not able to understand a word, listen to the whole sentence once again, rewind, listen again, try to analyze, and hence, you will be able to understand. Now, in order to remember everything and check your understanding, let's move to stage number 2. Step number 2. Now, step number 2 is making notes and recording. Making notes and recording. Now, what you are supposed to do is you have to make notes. You have to make notes. While you are understanding the context and everything, for example, you came across the word prospect. What you're supposed to do is take up any diary, any vocabulary journal of yours. Like I have here one of the journals with me. Now, you have to write the word there. Write the word, okay? Whatever you can understand right now, what you can do is create a column like context clues, and you can note down the things that you can relate to that particular word from the sentence. You can note down the complete sentence, or you can note down some words that you might think are meaningful and related to this particular word. What can be the meaning? Note it down. Make notes. These notes will help you also understand the context in a better way. When you're looking for context clues, you'll be able to get those clues in a better way. You'll be able to understand the clues in a better way because everything is there in written form. You'll be able to analyze everything, and that is important. After analysis, what you're supposed to do is while you're recording it, while you're making notes, this step needs to be repeated once again. I'm going to tell you how, but for now, these notes that you're making are going to stay there with you. They are going to define the word for you in your mind. Everything is going to get fixed in your subconscious mind. At the back of your subconscious mind, what you're doing is you're feeding a lot of information to your brain related to that particular word, which is very important. You've taken a word, for example, tremendous. She's doing tremendous hard work to get the promotion. So, tremendous means extremely. You're able to understand. She's doing tremendous hard work to get the promotion. Now, for getting a promotion, what a person will do is a lot of hard work. That means tremendous means with a lot of intensity, a lot of kind of very much, extremely, and you're able to understand the word. So you can write that. Tremendous, promotion, hard work, which means extreme, extremely. Whatever meaning you can understand, you can write that. So you have to make some notes. While doing it, you can understand it in a better way. When you make notes, everything solidifies here, and your subconscious mind is able to grasp the idea, the concept, in a better way, in a way where you will be able to use it because you'll be able to remember it. It's not on the outer surface of your memory. You're trying to absorb everything for the long run, not on the outer surface, but everything in the context, like I told you. So, it's very important for you to make those notes while you're looking for the context clues, while you come to the conclusion of what you can understand and what you cannot understand. Now, step number 3. Step number 3 is to use online dictionaries and check. Now, what you're supposed to do once you understand a context is do not do it after every sentence, okay? Supposedly, you're reading one page. You have to do everything that I've told you in step number 1 and 2 for the complete page. If you come across 10 words, you're supposed to do it for those 10 words. If you come across 15 words, you're supposed to do it for those 15 words. When you're done with your reading or listening, if you're listening to something, when you're done with it, done with all the words that you came across, done understanding all the context clues, done making the notes about them, now is the time you have to check the proper meaning and write it down again in your vocabulary diary. Again, like I've told you, step 2 will get repeated again. I've told you that before in the previous step. Now this is the time where you have to repeat step number 2, making notes. That is how you're going to make notes. You are going to use an online dictionary. Why am I saying online dictionary? Because you can understand the context in a better way through an online dictionary. You can also hear the pronunciation. You can learn about various contexts in which this word can be used. For example, this word can be used as a verb. This word can be used as an adverb. There are a lot of words which can be used in a different way. For example, the word record. Record means a written information about something that is kept for a long period of time. So, that is record. Now, record, to record, is to capture everything. That's an action. That's a verb. The first one was a noun. This is a verb. In this manner, a word can differ in its meaning, also in its context, and the kind of word it becomes, whether a noun, a verb, adverb, adjective, everything. So, when you use an online dictionary, you'll be able to understand all of these components altogether. Now, if you are somewhere where you can't access your phone, internet is not allowed. For example, in a lot of college classes, using a phone is prohibited. A lot of times it's done. If you are in such a setting, you need to keep that pocket dictionary. You can keep Oxford's pocket dictionary. I used to do that a lot when I was in school and in my college, because a similar thing happened at the time. And I remember when I was in school, I always used to keep that pocket dictionary. Oxford's pocket dictionary, and I always used to recheck all the meanings of the words that I came across after my English class ended. I remember I used to use that dictionary after my English classes a lot, so I remember that, and it used to help me a lot. This is something that you can do, keeping that Oxford English dictionary with you. It used to help me, and this is something from my personal experience that I am telling you, so you can keep that and look at it. Later on, you can also look at the online dictionary too. So, for an online dictionary, my personal favorite is the Cambridge Dictionary. You get everything on that particular dictionary, so go check it out and understand whether whatever you have learned through those context clues is correct, how accurate it is. Now, note down the correct meaning, the accurate meaning of it. I'm sure 80 to 85% of the time you are going to be accurate because you're not just guessing. It's not hit and trial. Okay, I've guessed this. Maybe this is correct. I've guessed that. Maybe that is correct. No, you're understanding it. You're looking at the context clues, you're trying to understand, and then you're coming to a conclusion. That means you are going to be almost correct a lot of the time. Context clues help you a lot. Now, the step number 4, the last step of this particular process, is to revise. Revise, because this last step focuses on remembering the things. You've understood everything, it's with you, and you want to remember it. 50% of the work is already done in order to remember that, because you are doing the work in a very solidified manner. You're not doing it on the surface level. It's a deep work you have done with your English language learning. Now, after this deep work, keeping it aside is not the solution. You have to also revise it from time to time. You can revise it after every 10 days, 20 days, 30 days. Whenever you get time. Revise it. I'm not saying that you have to revise it every 5 days. That is not a fixed time. I am setting you free to create a schedule on your own. Take time out of your schedule and revise these words, these phrases, everything new that you're learning in English. Why are you making these notes? So that in the future, you can come back and revise it. Once you revise it within a particular time frame, your mind will get replenished with the memory of everything, and it's going to get solidified in your mind. So you are feeding your mind constantly with the word, the context clues, everything that you require to remember the word in the long run, and then to be able to use it. This is beneficial for you, so revise it from time to time. Revise it. But if you've learned a word and made the notes, for example, you're doing it on day number 1, you need to revise it within the next 15 days. That means within those 2 weeks, revise. Any period longer has more chances of forgetting the word, forgetting everything that you have learned. If you skip the revision for 1 month, you would have to do a lot more work when you're revising. You might need to pay more attention to everything. But if you're revising everything within the first 15 days, that means everything is fresh for you, and you are creating another layer of information. What you're doing is creating one layer of information, then another layer, and another layer. When you revise it for the 4th time, you create another layer of information. Through this, you are creating a very thick form of information, kind of, you can say, storage of information, where you cannot forget it. It will not vanish with time, because now everything is solidified. It's there with you. You've created so many multiple layers of understanding a particular thing, a particular word, a particular phrase, that there is no chance of forgetting that word, that phrase. And when there is no chance of forgetting, it's there with you. It's easier for you to use it, to speak it. This is how you are going to understand and remember everything in English. This is how you're going to understand everything and then remember it in English. Understand everything and anything in English. Remember it and speak it. That is what we want to achieve, to be able to speak it, to be able to use whatever you're learning. Through all these steps, you will be able to do it. You'll be able to achieve it. You'll understand anything that you read, anything that you listen to in English, and then you'll be able to remember it for a very long period of time and use it comfortably. If you're able to achieve this, that means your English language learning is successful because you're doing deep work with your English language learning. It's not on the surface level. The words that you're learning, everything that you're trying to grasp, the input that you're taking, is in a deep manner. The deep work that you're doing, not on the superficial surface level. This is going to make you super fluent in English. Your fluency level will increase tenfold, so do it and see the change. Also, I have uploaded similar videos on this topic with different techniques, other techniques that you must look at. The videos are How to Remember Vocabulary and Speak It, which I uploaded on the 29th of July 2024, and another video, The Fastest Way to Improve Your Vocabulary, which I uploaded on the 9th of April 2024. You can go check them out and improve your English. So, today's lesson is kind of an advanced level lesson that you must take up. But before taking this up, you should also look at the other two techniques, the other two videos, which are going to help you a lot, benefit you a lot if you combine everything together. So, go check it out, and I'm going to meet you again with a new lesson. Till then, everybody, take care and bye.